What's going on? Common Sense TV. So it's 2019, it's a new year, and people are starting New Year's resolutions. People are looking to get into relationships, people are looking to get out of relationships. It's a new year, it's new beginnings, could be endings for certain things as well. And I want to talk about relationships and specifically knowing when to leave a relationship, how to get out of it, and when to leave. That's the big thing. So, we can always get into these relationships, and then somehow in the course of the relationship, you figure out this is just not it. This is not the one. But I think it depends on how far you go down that road, how easy it is to just cut bait and run. If you just met somebody 6 months into, 5 months into, it's easy. You can walk away, no big deal. But if you've been with someone for like 2 years, 3 years, it becomes a little bit more difficult to just leave. So I want to talk about that. So with relationships, you really need to be wise enough to know how to choose the right person. And when you find that right person, relationships are still, it's tricky. They're just hard. They're hard to maintain. They're difficult to manage for most people, me included. It's tough. And normally it goes something like this. You meet somebody and you go out once. You figure this person's cool. I can see them again. Go out again. Second date. Drinks, maybe dinner. So it's like, all right, at this point, you're like, okay. If you go on the third day, okay, I'm willing to spend a little bit more money, a little bit more time with this person. And normally, hey, you're probably going to have sex on the third date. So if you see each other again on the third date, it's agreed by both parties. It's like, okay, I want to see you a little bit more. I want to know you a little bit more, and probably we're going to get sexual. So now you're having sex. So you're going out every day or on weekends, right? You're going out, eating. Just like Chris Rock said, you go out, eat, have sex. Go out, eat, have sex. And then, 6, 7 months, maybe a year later, you're like, what am I doing here? Right? So I think one or two things can happen. Normally the woman's going to say, what are we doing here? What's going on? I don't know what's going on. And then the guy's going to say one or two things. He's going to either have a lot of options on his plate, a lot of women that he's juggling. And he's going to be like, look, I'm not trying to settle down. It's time to move on. He walks away. Or he could really like the woman, right? He could like her, or he has no other options. So at that point, he says, okay, well, yeah, fine. Let's get into this relationship. But the problem is, the relationship wasn't built on anything, right? For the most part, you just went out, you had drinks, you ate, you had sex. You probably didn't talk that much on the phone because most people don't, right? So during the week, you're working, she's working. You're going out on the weekends. And unless you live with each other, you probably don't really know each other that well. So it probably takes about 6 months, 7 months to a year. Then you figure out, all right, now I'm in this relationship. I don't really know this person that well, but things are cool. Don't rock the boat. We're not really talking about anything controversial. She's not trying to make me marry her. And so you keep going on because it's convenient, it's comfortable for you. And then, again, like I said, the relationship's not built on anything. You really don't have any common interests. You really don't probably have the same morals or the same views upon, major issues in life. You just don't have much in common. The only thing you have in common is that you go out, you eat, you drink, and you have sex. Right? So you got to know when to walk away from the situation because you probably know, all right, this person is not the right person for me. You already know this is not the right person for me. And you know what they say? They say when you're in a relationship, halfway through that relationship, before you break up, that's when the relationship should have ended. So if you were together for 5 years and you break up after five years, then probably somewhere around that 2 year mark or that 2.5 year mark, you were already checked out, and she was checked out too, and you should have ended it at that point. But you didn't because you were comfortable. You didn't because hey, you were like, I don't know, I don't want to be back out there dating. I don't know. So nobody was courageous enough to really say, hey, you know what? You're not the right one for me. This is not a good situation. I need to leave. No one did that. So instead, you drag it out for another 2.5 years until you finally hate each other. And now you're in a situation where you're like, yeah, I never liked this chick in the first place. I was just doing it just because it was something to do. Or it could be a situation that you saw some qualities in this woman that you liked, and then there were some that you probably didn't like, but you didn't really you didn't want to deal with it, and you kind of swept it underneath the rug. Or likewise, it could have been a guy, but whatever. In this case, we're speaking about women. And I think one of the major issues that you see with women nowadays is that they really self-sabotage their relationships and their success in life overall. So some women just, they say that they want love, they say that they want relationships, but they really don't, because they really are incapable of being loved. So someone who's passive aggressive, a woman who's passive aggressive, a woman really just doesn't know how to receive love. Some women just can't receive love. A woman who doesn't want to grow. And when I say grow, I mean she doesn't want to better herself. She doesn't want to take responsibilities for her actions. A woman who holds grudges endlessly for something that you did 2-3 years ago. She's still holding that grudge. She still holds it against you. You got to know when to leave. Because with women like that, you really can't build with women like this. You just can't build with them, because there's always going to be something that they're going to self-sabotage this relationship with. They're going to dig up from the past when things are going well, when things are going just great. She's going to dig it up and say, well, what about this? And you're like, well, why are we bringing this up? I thought we're past that. I can't get past that. She self-sabotages. And then when you get into this argument and she starts crying and she says, you always do this, or this always happens. And you're like, no, it was fine until you were the one who kind of instigated the whole argument. See, people like this, you can't have a relationship with. You're going to have to walk away, and you need to know when to leave. And my personal opinion is that when you first see it, the earlier the better. The more courageous you are when you see these signs in someone. Here's my rule. I have a 3 strikes policy when I first meet you. Now, of course, someone's doing the same thing to me, but I have a policy where I am totally, everything's out there on the table about who I am and what I do, what I like and what I don't like, right? So I tell them I expect the same from them. So this woman, normally, well, I'll say this, most people are on their best behavior, we already know. People put their best face on for the first 3 to 6 months, sometimes even up to a year. But if you're really paying attention, if you really put this person in different situations, you might travel together. You might go to see your family. You may go out to do different things. But you need to be in different environments. That person's going to show you who they really are. See, you have to get them out of their familiar environment. And once you put them in different environments, it's most people, 99.9%, are going to show you who they really are. No one's that good of an actor. See, most people aren't actors like that. And most people are bad liars at that. So what you're going to do is you're going to look for these inconsistencies, things things to you that are a deal breaker, right? So, for example, if you know that this woman has a temper, you may go out, you may go somewhere that's totally outside of your, regular normal routine, and you see that she has a temper. But normally, when you're around her friends or whatever else, she's all nice, she's bubbly, she's giggly. But in certain situations, you see she's angry. I give it 3 times, 3 strikes and you're out rule. And of course, you have to make sure it's not you. Make sure it's nothing that you're doing. You have to be objective. You can't just, obviously you can't point the finger at someone else. You have to look at yourself and see if you're the cause of it. But if you're not the cause of this, 3 strikes. If they do it once, they do it twice, and then that last time. But what I'll do is I'll call them out on it. I'll say, hey, what happened? You seem like you were angry, or this bothered you. Or what happened with this situation? You weren't your normal self. And what'll happen is that maybe sometimes they'll just dismiss it. Sometimes they'll say, I didn't even notice it. At any rate, if you bring it to their attention and you're continuously seeing it 1, 2, 3 times, that's who they are. That's part of their personality. Now it's up to you if you want to stay. You can't blame that for them. You can't look at their character flaws and blame that on them. It's up to you. You accepted it. You should have saw it within the first three times. I don't care how pretty they are. I don't care how fat their booty is. I don't care how good the sex is. If they have something that's a deal breaker, if their behavior is a deal breaker, something they're doing just bad, and you know it's a turn off, and you know eventually you can't deal with it, you need to walk away. And if you don't, that's your fault. Look at those red flags. They're there. They're always going to be there if you're paying attention. You have to pay attention. I was dating a girl one time, and we dated for about 6 months. And when I first met her, she was so happy, giggly, nice, such a sweet girl. And probably about 2 months into, I started to see cracks in her facade. I was like, wait a minute, this chick is not as happy. She always comes off to be. She's not that happy. She's not a happy person. And she would say things and do things, and I'd notice it. And then I would call her out on it sometimes. And then when we would go out, she'd put on this personality that she's happy and giggly, but eventually I would see her do things and say things that she would snap or be angry. And another side of her was really revealed every time I spend more time around her. And again, I would just bring it to her attention. And normally she would either dismiss it or she would say, oh, you're always being critical of me. You're always pointing the bad things out of me. And I said, listen, we just met. I said, I'm watching your behavior. I'm watching things that you're doing. Because I want to be able to make sure that, hey, I want to be around you and I can deal with this. And she was shocked. She was like, you were watching me? You were watching the things I was doing? I said, of course I was. I was saying, why wouldn't you be doing the same thing? Of course I was analyzing you. You should be paying attention. It's not all fun and games. But she was just so shocked at that. But again, you need to figure out when it's time to cut bait and you need to leave. Because otherwise you're just wasting your time and you deal with somebody who you really don't like and it's not for you. They're not compatible for you. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. So thanks for listening. Peace.